All right, guys, welcome back. Another day of streaming and drawing, and yeah, the usual thing. Just kind of like explaining my process, talking about random stuff. But this is a video or drawing I did yesterday, and I'll probably have like a TikTok short on it if you guys are watching on TikTok, or I'm also gonna have like time lapse on my YouTube channel, and then I'll also upload the live streams on YouTube. So if you guys want to see me drawing on this one, so yeah, this is the one I did last night, and then I'll start on a new one. Probably gonna use the same brush since I really like how dark the black gets. I think pushing a character to the foreground and sort of like trying to push perspective really far is what I might go for again on the start of this one. I think the last one I did zombies. So this time I'll maybe do a regular character, and instead of putting him on the side there, I think try putting him towards the middle. Lately, I've been trying to really push larger character in the foreground. Probably could have pushed a little bit further. A lot of times when I'm drawing a character and then one doesn't work out or it's not exactly what I'm going for, then I'll just draw another character since I still have room on the page to work with. So it's kind of always something I can do. Do some wrinkles, kind of set up his face. Probably gonna have him as some sort of warrior. And then as I get lower down his face, I'll kind of start to pull his face in a direction downward. Since I'm almost looking above him. At this point, kind of decide whether I want to put a helmet on him or not. I think I probably will since I like when the helmets have a like the strap that connects on the chin. I think it always looks cool with the face. Probably give him some facial hair too. I like to add as much detail as I can on the characters further in the front, since later, once I add more characters, it's gonna be a little bit harder to add detail once they get further and further away. Facial hair is pretty fun to sort of like carve out the character's face. Sometimes when I'm not sure what I'm gonna draw, I'll just kind of like go in and make a shape and then sort of like adapt the drawing around the shape that comes up. A lot of the times I don't have an idea for how I want something to look. Especially this character, I have no clue kind of what direction I want to take him. So I'll just start adding in different shapes that I find interesting. Once I sort of get around a good portion of his face found out, and it's almost sort of like the character kind of decides how he wants to be in a way, where I sort of like wait for something to happen. Have a little hair poking out of the side there. And since I don't know how to do what I want for the helmet yet, I'm sort of stalling with this like ornamental design until I sort of figure out how I want the that part of the character to be. Just kind of putting down random shapes. Now I'll probably add the strap for his helmet and then connect it through here. I like to use the strap for a helmet or like a tie from a suit to sort of break up from the dark area, and then it lets me like sort of layer the detail. And then I can draw more of a beard underneath, and by layering I just mean like, so I'm stacking like the strap over top of the beard, and then it gets to his skin, and then he has wrinkles, and then sort of like just adding more and more detail that keeps overlapping each other. I might make this some sort of like headdress on this character. And then I can also draw his hair. And kind of the whole point of this character was just to like push something into the foreground as far as I could. But I feel like I could have pushed it a lot more, so I'm probably gonna do a few more characters, just kind of like working my way towards the foreground and push that as far as I can. But I'll sort of use this character to develop some sort of theme or story, since I'm not sure what to draw yet. And since this is a headdress, then that sort of like opens up to me being able to do his hair. And I like to sneak in as much dark area as I can on the page. So his headdress is sort of covering up a lot of his hair. And then I kind of want to bring his hair back. make it a little bit messy. And then I'll just keep pulling back the hair until it sort of looks like it's in a spot that I want it. Maybe have some longer strands that are slipping through the helmet. And then I'm kind of thinking like the hair up here is sort of like matted with the headdress there, so it won't come down too far. And then I'll do some more ornamental to kind of add some contrast with the area of detail right next to this area of black. Now I'll bring down the hair. To where it starts to sort of look a little bit natural from this position. And there'll probably be a lot of stray hairs from where this bun is sort of tied. Try to go through the hair and come out the other side with that other end there. And then I kind of want his hair coming out that back end. And I'll kind of use the hair to bend down more to set up the neck area later. Not sure what I'm gonna do for the story for this one, but he doesn't look very happy. He looks like a little worry of something happening. So maybe he's um, like a ruler or a king or something. And I'll bring the neck down. And then I want to push him towards the foreground more. I sort of think about the details of the character and different parts of the character as like a sort of push and pull. So like right now, I am sort of like pushing the character to a direction that I want and pull in details and different parts of his anatomy towards a certain direction. And it's kind of a way to like combine perspective and I guess you could call it like rendering the character. I'll just slowly work my way down. Maybe I should zoom in a bit. Probably be able to see that better. And then kind of the same idea of overlap in detail before I start the his clothes that I was thinking about doing after the collar. I'll put some hair here. And this is sort of like a in between before I start his clothes. I'm trying to pull the hair downward to set up for the rest of the character's body. Add a little bit of texture. And then now kind of work my way. Probably gonna give him some sort of robe. I might layer like a necklace in there though. So right under this fur, some sort of jewelry can help sort of figure out the rest of the character. I can figure out his chest from sort of like the angle and how his jewelry is here. I'm sort of like imagining if I'm drawing the jewelry over his chest. So in a way, I'm sort of drawing his chest right now and thinking of it as one whole piece. Try to add as much detail as I can here since I'm sort of preparing to make a large area of white or black somewhere to sort of help out the detailed area, and then I will sort of like complement it. Kind of like how the hair is all dark, and then next to big area of detail, and then a large area of white or value, lighter value. I'll make under these sort of like these little pits of shadow that not much light would be. So I'm just gonna darken that whole area in. And then I'll continue the necklace up, sort of slip it in. Sometimes if the brush is or an area is too small, I'll just sort of like make the whole side plane right there dark. Kind of do whatever I can to slip in some sort of definition there. Then here, once I get to the shoulder, this is kind of where most of the his character will change, depending on how I do this part. So I'll make some shoulder plate, pretty large, and then going down this way. And this shoulder piece right here sort of like determines the whole rest of the scene just because it's such a like big point for perspective, and it's also a huge plane and area of the character. So, and it kind of decides a lot too, since kind of tells me like how far back to have his clothes as well. Sort of like how his body's positioned, and kind of also like gives some info on different ways the other arm could be, which way he's leaning, just that sort of thing. I'll probably continue this sort of very ornamental theme. I'll start with the middle since it's easier to tell the split of the object. Not too worried if these smaller details aren't perfect either, since it's more so like how the whole character feels to me and kind of like getting a certain idea going. Plus, if I make a mistake, it kind of actually helps me since then, especially if I know that I made a mistake, then it'll help me even more since then I know not to do that thing again. Or same with if something works out, then it kind of tells me to do something similar to that if I like how I looked. Sort of want to keep adding these, like, not really sure what it is, some sort of like bell. And then keep this going down. So they're kind of shifting a little far to the left. So I sort of like change and adapt pieces around it, to sort of make each other piece little more believable and kind of sit better in place. And with every little piece of detail, I can sort of keep shifting things over depending on what needs balanced out. I'm trying my best to make these all the detail on the shoulder pad sort of match up with the same plane as the shoulder. Which is a little bit difficult when it's such a wide open area, especially on something I've never done before. Like I've never done a shoulder piece with this idea, or even like an ornamental character like this, but I think that's the fun part though. Drawing something I've never done. And since I have all these, then I'll sort of make some makeshift idea. So I kind of want like string going across the whole shoulder pad and then holding up these different sort of like bells. And they're kind of like wrapping around the shoulder blade. Not shoulder blade, shoulder pad. Kind of just adds a little bit more believability that these details are sort of actually attached to the character. Might add some more string going through here. And then make it in between these other parts that I added. And the string is almost like a contour line. Just added more definition to the shoulder piece here. Some more strings going up. Sneak him in there. Now I kind of have a shoulder pad that works better. And then all these little spots where a lot of these pieces would overlap. I'll darken them in since not much light would be in those places. And from here, I think I kind of have an idea of where I want to take the armor. I'll finish off that half and then add a little bit on the top. Can I add a little pieces coming off of his clothing there? And then to work further down the character, I can sort of figure out where his shoulder is and then come down with his arm. But I think I want to figure out how his collar is going to be here. And sort of match it with how his shoulder was. Since like every little piece I do, I'm trying to adapt the next part and the next part to sort of keep shifting the character into some sort of balance where it looks how I want it. And then I think for the chest piece, I'll have some sort of armor that comes down. Make it a little bit bulky. Brother, thank you for being a teacher. I'm not really a teacher, but I'm just trying to kind of try my best to help out people. Make this chest piece a little bulky. And then from the chest piece, I kind of can figure out this other half a lot better. One thing I can also do here is add a little, kind of mark out a highlight, and then I'll darken in the armor here. I can sort of shift it however I need. Just kind of leave some room for a little bit reflected light once I get into adding some ink with water. I kind of liked how one of my recent drawings I did, this one that I did from yesterday's live stream, there was, oh yeah, I had like a little bit of hatching from the black into the reflected light, and that turned out pretty cool. So I'll probably do the same thing down here. Just sort of have like the black area bleeding into the light down there. And I can kind of figure out maybe how the other shoulder is from here. Not really sure what I want to do with the other arm, but this whole character is sort of just making it up as I go. Probably wait on that other arm and do this arm since it's becoming a little easier to see. And I can figure out and then pull the character sort of deeper down. I try to do sort of like a process of elimination of the easiest and hardest parts of the character based on what I've drawn before. And then kind of like what that angle is too. So I get as much black as in here as I can. And leave a little bit of room for when I add some shading later. I really like adding big areas of ink and then it sort of covers. Makes these other areas that I add a lot of detail or leave a lot of white sort of pop out more. And now that I have the chess piece here, I sort of have like the angle figured out a lot more. And where I want to place this other shoulder. Probably have his arm come out here. A lot of times I don't know like the correct position to put his hand out, but I'll sort of like just choose a spot that feels right and then go based off that. And then just sort of like move everything else depending on how things go. Something like that probably works. I'll probably decide to make that little cup black, but kind of depends on what happens with this arm here. Kind of see if it needs to be or not. So like here the arm's probably not gonna end up being perfect, but I sort of try my best to get something going. And then I'll put some straps from where that shoulder might connect on. Yeah, in a situation like this where I sort of have like enough detail in certain places, I feel like his hand is pretty detailed, and I have a big area of open white. Then that's usually when I'll decide to sort of like make this cup on a darker value. And kind of pulling the black as far around as I can to sort of get some sort of reflective look. This is sort of the first character in the scene. And lately I've been trying to get a character as far up towards the foreground as possible to then set up the rest of the characters. Try to zoom out so it's easier to see. And from here, I'll probably draw another character over here. So he looks kind of like a little bit disgusted at something. So I'll kind of like play off of that. And then add another character over here. Kind of have a little bit of an idea of what I want this character. Maybe this character over here is a guard and he's on his lunch break. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better. So he's like a guard on his lunch break. I'll kind of get some sort of helmet idea started. Kind of just place that in almost mark where I want his helmet to be. The helmet will sort of help too for figuring out the position of his face. And kind of where this character's sitting in the perspective. Sometimes I'll just kind of like draw random shapes and then change it a little bit as I go. Sorry if I've missed anyone's comments. I'm gonna try my best to watch the chat. Gonna draw the bowl he's eating from. I don't know why, but in the last two drawings I've done, I've been drawing a lot of people eating spaghetti. And it's just kind of fun. It's just a lot you can do with all the noodles. So round off this bowl and then turn it a little down. And then as the noodles get more outward, I kind of will make them spiral around the bowl. Kind of give like some, what of like a cyclone spin And since this cheek is pretty puffed out, try to do the same thing on this side, but have it a little bit more since it's facing kind of the camera or the foreground. And then with the chin strap and a lot of the other details sort of like come in this way, I want to kind of pull the character downward. And like here, I sort of messed up like how far this little piece was over, so I just kind of like mirror whatever change I make and put it on the other side to kind of make it a little more symmetrical. And slowly work my way down. Probably add his hand holding the bowl. Or maybe him holding a fork or something. Sometimes I'll kind of think about an idea while I'm working on detail or easier parts that I kind of can do whatever I want in a certain area. Maybe I'll finish the helmet before I get to his hands. Kind of pull this down as far as I can. And he's sort of tilting here, so have his other part of his helmet coming up. And kind of work my way to since he doesn't have his hair showing and he's wearing a helmet, I might add some of like the hair they have on helmets coming out the back here. Just to sort of add that like softer texture that hair gives. Now sneak in, kind of start some reflections going. And those little ornamental details just gonna to round off the helmet and add a little more shape to it before I go in with full ink. Then I'll just leave a little bit of space for some reflected. Since he has a lot of lighter values here with the face and then detailed, I feel like I'll need a little bit more black, so I'm gonna change up his helmet design to sort of like help with that. So I was gonna do something more like this, but since I have detail here and detail here, then I'll sort of add black on both sides. So I'm kind of opening up this half to then go in with black. And I'll try to leave a little bit of area for reflected light. I can kind of use this little area too as a little bit of like movement by having it arc down this way. Doing the helmet first before the hands and arms helped a lot too, since now I sort of like have eliminated like I've narrowed it down to like a few options, whereas before there was so much space over here that kind of like there were like way more options to do, so it's just a little easier for me to decide. It almost looks like the spaghetti noodles are like going up his nose or something. I was originally gonna have it going into his mouth, but it kind of has a little bit more funny, which would explain why this other character is a little bit disgusted at it. I'll draw his shoulder pad come up in this way. And then just kind of draw the outer frame of it, sort of as a placeholder. And then his arm come up, and then I can go do his hand somewhere around here. Might be able to fit um, some sort of armor piece in here. I'll kind of get the shoulder in there. And I think I want to put some sort of armor on the shoulder too. And connect it with the string. So then it's sort of like bending towards. Now I gotta have all the armor set up. And then I'll do a similar detail to the first character. Just gonna make it a little bit more recognizable. And then I haven't done an arm piece yet. So kind of just come up with something. Probably should have just done the shoulder pad black since maybe a little too busy, but I can always fix that once I shade. Since I didn't do this part black, I'll just make this wrist guard black instead. Probably do this black too. I like to try to add as much dark areas as I can. And this side of the character, I'll just kind of find a way to pull I could even start because I kind of know. I know how I want to place the hand. So I'll just start with the hand. And try to get this hand coming around. I just realized I could probably do some sort of thing coming off the hand there. Kind of want to split the hand off from this other character's arm. Now from this hand, I'm gonna have to try to push the arm pretty far back. I kind of messed up by having this hand, or this like arm around the hand, come back to this part, since now it doesn't give me very many options to move around. But I'll finish this bowl. Add a little contour line. And for this part, I'll have to get a little bit creative. I can add this armor that I added on the other one, and then sort of, since that's black, I can pull this out. Kind of see how far I can push this out. And then I'll do the same detail on the other one. And this is where I have the elbow come out. And the armor block this. And I'll just ink these both in black. probably a good thing I did this shoulder back here detailed. Actually thinking about it now, since now when I pull it up this way, it should help break apart these different areas back here. This is such an awkward pose though. Never done anything even close to this. Gonna get these larger parts in here. I'll get them out of the way, and then everything else sort of lines up with them. Just sort of looking at my other armor I did before. Doing the same sort of thing. Maybe they're in the same sort of faction. So far, the storyline with this one is that he's like some sort of ruler, and this is one of his guards, and he's disgusted that he's inhaling spaghetti through his nose. Then I think the last thing I gotta do with this is just bring the strings through. Oh yeah, I forgot these little sections. I don't know why I gave myself such a like complicated armor piece. Kind of fun though, coming up with different types of armor and things. Most of the things I draw is kind of just like made up objects based slightly on things that are real. Like there's definitely some like samurai, but then it's like mixed with a little bit of like Chinese sort of aspects. But then definitely changed a lot. Now I just kind of figure out how I want his armor. I could give him some like hair sort of thing. I just kind of guessed that it'd be somewhere around here. And then I want to bend this character down. Down so he sort of like sits with this other character. Pull him down. And his chest. Thinking be somewhere around there. Not his chest, but his chest piece. It'd be kind of like the lower part. And then I just go further down. And then I'll just keep pulling this character further and further. He's kind of like shrinking different parts of his outfit. Maybe he's got some sort of scale like cloth down there. And then I'll just make his pants black. On the last drawing I did, I made the pants black as the character went downward, sort of like that, and it made it a lot easier to like see that the character was heading towards the floor. I'll add one more guard that's sort of goofy like the other one. And then I kind of still want something that's close to the foreground, but I want to keep him some kind of like have three large characters in the front. Kind of makes the scene a little bit more fun. Maybe I'll like continue that same idea of the spaghetti going into their nose. I have no idea where the story is heading. It's like Borderland. It's like almost like a horror movie. He showed up somewhere in public, like the store, and then you just eat or at a restaurant. Everyone's just snorted spaghetti up their nose. It's like the zombie apocalypse, except with spaghetti. Some virus has attacked their brain. I'll probably give him the same armor as the character in front. I'll zoom in too, so camera doesn't go out of focus. All times, if I have a really fun idea, I'll just kind of like sacrifice things needing to be perfect, and then it's more gonna just focus on pulling off the idea. Especially when it's more of a joke character. For this character, I'd probably do the hand last. Or not the hand, but the arm. This come out. I'll try to get this to the back. Kind of wing the helmet the best I can. I kind of wanted to give this character facial hair, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit it in. Could do a little hair. Oh yeah, I forgot. They do have a little hair at the top of the helmet. Leave a little bit of space for reflected lights. Now I'll just kind of work my way around this hand. Try to get things. As I get further back in the drawing, so it gets a little bit harder and harder to do do detail, and so I just sort of like simplify it. Like there's kind of no way I can fit this shoulder pad detail onto this one back here. So I just kind of like imply what the other characters have, and since they all have very similar armor, then it sort of strengthens the idea. Makes it easier to simplify things and not have to do all the detail on it. Maybe I'll have his other hand come up this way. With the armor. And then I think I'll maybe have spaghetti noodles wrapping around his arm or his hand. Be kind of funny. Get some sort of fist pose. Maybe help show that this one is spaghetti more. It's kind of easy to look like a beard in that spot that it's in. I have to do hair here too. put some reflected light in the middle there since it'll be facing the floor the most. Lately, I've been trying to like not have characters collide too much, and it kind of makes for some like interesting poses when I sort of like I'm trying to place them in like little spots of white space. So like if I drew a character, I try to place him like right in this little square here, and then just sort of like build a character pose around that square. Kind of looks cool. Here on this arm, I'm like really gonna have to warp his arm down and around. Maybe something like that. In the center, probably be around here. Maybe have a little bit of reflection there, and then some reflected lights. Somewhere along that middle part. Hmm. If I do his shoulder, or his elbow, probably be around here. Make that pretty open. Probably add most of the detail there once I go in with water. This arm's kind of the opposite. Almost, this one I wanted to pull back and in. And this one I almost want to come out for a little bit. Sort of tuck it in there. That probably works. And then if I can sneak a little bit of his top chest piece armor into here. it sort of like encloses his hand. Now as I go lower, just keep trying to push him further and further back. I can maybe try to slip in. I did that scale armor on the one in character in the foreground, so I'm probably gonna do the same thing. It's a little bit weird around here. Trying to separate the details. I don't have his pants. Sort of sneak back here. I really want to do his pants dark, but it's gonna get caught with the other helmet too much. So just keep it light. I think I'll draw him standing on top of some sort of bench over here. Now, since I have these like three primary characters of the scene, kind of will work my way back now. Especially this little stool over here, sort of like sets where my floor now is. So now my floor kind of like almost warps this way underneath them with how the rest of the characters are. And then I can put another character sort of back here somewhere. I'll have to zoom in again. I'm getting a little better at zooming in on TikTok though. It's like, it's so touchy on my phone to zoom in and out. It always wants to like pull into a million different menus. The further I get back here on the characters, I'm sort of gonna have to simplify things. But I'll kind of still have them represent the same details on the other characters. So you'll still have these horns that I have on the other characters, and the helmet. And then his face will kind of be simplified a lot more too. Yeah, I'll sneak him back there. And from here, I'm sort of thinking of, it's really small and hard to see, but I'm thinking of how I can get from this head of the character all the way down to the floor. So sort of like every detail I add in between there is to get to those points. Try to keep these two black areas from connecting too much. All the soldiers have spaghetti. I'll just keep bringing the character down and simplifying all the detail. I can even have like, probably have like a spear behind this character. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the other armor of the characters. And now I want to pull this character downward. And then since this other character's leg is white, not his leg, but his pants, then I'll make this one's dark. I can kind of just darken in this whole area. Try to zoom out a bit. So now I kind of have like pretty much the scene sort of figured out, and it's almost like a puzzle piece. And I have characters in the foreground, and then still sort of the foreground, and then foreground, but they're sort of getting a little bit further and further back. And then I have like an object that tells me where the floor is, and then a character towards the back. And then so it's sort of like the room or like the universe or world that I'm drawing is sort of like figured out, and then it's kind of just like adding characters throughout the rest of the page. I'll probably add another character. It's coming along. It looks great. Thanks. Yeah, it's coming along slowly. I could maybe push the foreground a little more and have a character like really close over here. Masterpieces can take time. I don't know if this one's a masterpiece, but I can see so many backgrounds. It has real potential. Yeah, that's kind of yeah. There's almost too many options sometimes. Makes it hard to kind of choose which one to go with. I think I'll have another character. I think I'll have another character. So bend in up this way. Put another one of these guards to sort of like surround this character. When you look at the main character and then the side character, look at the behavior. That's that's how. Oh yeah, yeah. I was kind of doing that with the sort of coming up with the story, especially like where his eye was looking, kind of led into the next character. Mm. Oh, you have a great day too. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for everyone watching so far too. I really appreciate all the support. I feel like usually once I have a setup like this, then it's kind of just like having more fun. Like the whole drawing process is fun for me, but once I have a setup like this, then it's like pretty free of I can sort of like do literally whatever I want with the rest of the drawing because there's like already everything set up. So there's a little bit of like a freeing sort of aspect to where I feel like nothing can really go wrong with the rest of the piece. I'm gonna sneak another character in here. Draw his arm guy. Maybe even before I draw this character, if we draw another one, kind of lower. He's gonna have to have no helmet though, because I don't think I'll be able to fit the whole character. So kind of draw the noodles coming out of the bowl. If you're just tuning in now, or I didn't see before, the storyline for this drawing is basically this ruler um, is like experience and lunch break for the guards, and they're all having spaghetti, but there's some sort of like virus, like zombie apocalypse sort of virus. But instead of them turning into zombies, the virus is making them basically snort spaghetti with their nose. I don't know. It's pretty random and just kind of like ended up happening. Give this guy some facial hair. Kind of breaks up the spaghetti noodles. And he's in the foreground here, so kind of like to add as much dark area as I can. I have one baked meatball right there. Can I add that like cyclone spin effect to the spaghetti noodles? Like there's so much force happening that it's all being sucked up into this. Draw a hand for the bowl. Probably draw its other hand too. Probably do this character's close. Kind of split up. Make this arm more prominent too. With how this character's hand is, I think I'm gonna try to tilt the bowl downward. Whoa. Now I'm just kind of working my way around the outside, and then having all the characters probably sort of tilt towards in this center character. Kind of have everything moving towards the center character. It's a little bit of a rough angle. I'll zoom in a bit. If I can. Right, there we go. This left side's a little hard to get on camera sometimes. And since I'm right-handed, it likes to focus on my hand. So sorry if the camera goes out of focus. I think it just zoomed out on me. Camera malfunctions. Well, I figured out how to do the side part. I think I'll just kind of tilt the chest piece down. Kind of like scribble my way down here. Something like that. And can kind of use the chin strap there to figure out this angle better. Then I just gotta finish the helmet. Kind of fan it out the side there and just go upward. And then the triangle formation that I have on the other helmets. Well, can't really see the other helmets. But this sort of triangle formation, let's do the same thing onto this one. Something like that. Probably should have tried to add a little bit of reflection on that helmet. But it should work. He's kind of further back there anyways. And since he's being pulled down towards this direction, then I'll just sort of like pull him back in to reach the ground floor. And kind of use the straps on the chest piece there. He's kind of in a really awkward angle. I might have, like draw him sitting on something. Yeah, I probably draw him sitting on a bench or a chair. Quickly draw in this other arm. And then on the other cards, I had sort of a scale pattern, so I'll just continue that. Try to get a little bit of reflection on the pants here. And some reflected light. Kind of make this black area go around the fingers of this other character. And I have like that rim of the bowl already like colored. So then it shouldn't get too, shouldn't mess with the character too much. Kind of sneak in some little stool that he's sitting on. I was gonna draw a bench, but this whole character's face is covering the area that I would have done that in. I could probably get away with adding a character here. You can never draw too many characters eating spaghetti through their nose. Wherever I draw a meatball, I'm trying to draw kind of the noodles going over top. So then it kind of splits off since I want to draw this character with a little bit of facial hair that's darker. I can kind of split those ideas apart. I'll sneak it ear in here. I'm gonna try to have most of this character kind of just taking up space where his where I have like this sort of like middle column that waves around. I have him take up that space. And then he kind of like still gives other characters a little bit of room. And then I can kind of make this hair stand out and sort of, I don't know if like encapsulates the right word, but surround this main character a little bit better. I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna go get some water. I have a bad habit of putting the cap of my brush pen like putting it way too tight. Yesterday I was scared that I wasn't gonna be able to get the cap back off of this back piece. It's like, oh no, my brush is probably gonna dry out. Yeah, so this character is gonna bring his arm down. I think I'll actually bring this all the way. With this other arm, kind of not worry about having those pieces collide too much. This guy's coat or jacket will help split up the hand over here and make it a lot more easier to see. Do do do. I'll maybe push it a little bit and put another character here. Kind of see how much I can get away with. Like that, this guy over here had like just only two noodles going into his nose. So I kind of use that same idea. Makes the beard a lot better, I think. And I want this character to kind of be like a midpoint in between these two. So I'm kind of gonna be thinking about that and sort of like adapting his body to that. Noodles. And then I'll get that swirling cyclone effect. We're gonna have this hand coming out in front. And then I can make sure that he's out in front of this other character here. I might get a little too close to this guy's beard, but it should be fine. Yeah, probably doesn't matter too much if I just black out that area. You have to sacrifice some of these hair strands though. I don't know why his waist is so skinny, but I'll just keep it in the way. It's pretty funny. Dun, 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 dun. slowly working my way back. Thinking what I want to draw next. I'll try to zoom in since this is a left side of the page and my camera never likes to focus on that side. Draw a female in here quick. Then I think I'll draw another girl, but back further, kind of coming around this corner. No, I sort of got like a little more distance and kind of wrapping around that corner there. And just keep like slowly making my way further and further back. I was wondering what to draw for the rest here, but I think I want to do a panda somewhere up here, and then use the bull as sort of the direction that I want. I'll try to zoom back in. Man, gotta love autofocus. It's a panda bear. Try to sneak in a little bit of reflected light and a highlight. Put some claws. I think I'll probably do kind of a goofy pose with this, but going to have him sort of doing the splits. And try to pull down this black as far as I can. The headpiece should give me kind of a lot of leeway though. And can I do the same thing on the other side? Kind of left a little bit of white in between there and the hair so that it didn't get too caught together. I'm starting to realize what the storyline is here. It's that the pandas are the one that have been making the spaghetti. See how much black I can get away with. I think as long as these legs are going opposite directions, that'll kind of help split them up a bit. Put another bowl back here. Mhm. Are they like doing contrast and sort of ideas in the drawing too? Like doing pandas and then super ornamental detail stuff together. Looks pretty cool. Since then you have something that's like very simple. Like pandas really don't have much detail to them. And then plus when you combine that with something a lot more detailed next to it, it kind of the two contrast and sort of separate each other. I feel like the more separation that's in a drawing, easier it is to read and to understand. And I really like drawing as many characters as I can on a page, so kind of been trying to find ways to like add as many characters on a page, but still make it very readable and kind of not take away from the drawing, but add to it instead. So far, contrast and ideas has kind of been a really good way to do that. I love how pandas are so easily recognizable though. Like there's really not much you have to do to actually like create a panda. Like all a panda basically is just like two two black dots that sort of like go inward with each other, and then just a nose, and then they have like a lot more black on their lips, and then just two ears. and then a little black on their chest, and then their arm, and then it just sort of like, and then their legs follow the same thing that their arm does, and then you got a panda. Like that they're really easy to draw. Probably one of the easiest animals that I can think of. Draw a big belly. I think I want this drawing to be like very rounded. So, um, hmm. I think I'll probably draw like little like chef hats on the pandas. Since I kind of want them to be responsible for the spaghetti. That just for like the story aspect. And then I'm kind of gonna like curve the pandas downward. I guess you guys can't really see from here. Gonna like curve the pandas downward and sort of get like a slope effect. And basically just trying to like centralize the main character and then have like this swirl of characters around him. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do it as long as I keep the pandas sort of heading down this way. Kind of like leading the pandas down. Now kind of pull him. down this way. Make his hair droop a little. And then give him a bowl of spaghetti. And give him a big old belly. And then try to find a way to sneak in his legs to where it doesn't split up these other characters or sort of like mess with them. I think if I go right through here, it should work out. I was like drawing pandas since they have a lot of dark, a lot of dark area on them. Makes it really nice for once I add water. I'll add a little panda head maybe here. Whoops, he turned into a mean panda. Alright, well, there's a panda head over there now. I angled the eye the wrong way. That's just a pretty interesting angle in the eye. The other way kind of makes the pandas look evil. I was like, when I don't know what the pose is gonna be like, but then different characters sort of like block off the character that I'm working on. So then I'm like kind of forced into coming up with like a creative pose. that might break some things, but I love drawing that way. Man, I can't believe the bowl of pasta snuck in from my last drawing. It started off as um, it started off as a zombie holding a bowl of pasta just because I wanted him to hold something in his hand, and then it kind of ended up being the whole next drawing story. Just have probably do one or two more pandas maybe. I always say I'm just gonna do one more, and then I end up drawing like five more. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Guess it depends how much pasta these pandas have made. Well, this is a weird looking panda. I don't know what happened to his face. Maybe I've used up all my panda drawing energy. There's too many pandas. Try to sneak in one last one over here. One last bowl of spaghetti. Trying to think. I feel like I probably want something in that top left corner still. Um, Maybe I'll try a cat. If I can zoom in. Yeah, I'll try some sort of kitty up here. There, some sort of black cat. Not really sure why I decided to do a cat there, but it just kind of like it felt like something needed to go there. Bum, 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 bum. Jeez, I've been streaming for 3.5 hours. Holy cow. I think I'm probably gonna end the stream here and take a break, but I'm most likely gonna stream again uh, later today in like maybe like 3 or 4 hours. So yeah, might do another late night stream, or if not, then I'm definitely gonna stream tomorrow. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for all the support. And yeah, see you guys later.